I use the term legally blind because I'm most of the way there. I sort of tell people, look, probably got about 80 or 90% vision loss, depending on lighting conditions and all sorts of other various bits and pieces.
Yeah.
But assume the worst and work backwards is generally what I tell people.
Yeah. But I'm just thinking, when you moved away, to just have some kind of reference, whether it's a colour or, do you see what I mean? Especially, I'm just thinking when you're on public transport and things like that.
Yeah, look, it is degenerative what I've got. So as I've gotten older, it has gotten worse. So probably when I moved to Sydney, look, maybe I could say I had a 60% vision loss in the daytime. Nighttime, it's always been pretty crappy. The parts of your eyes that help you see in the nighttime have always been not working for me.
No.
So nighttime has always been bad, but during the daytime, wasn't so bad. But the way that I learned my way around Sydney, and then once again when I moved to Melbourne, was in my spare time I would just jump on the train network. And they announced the train. So next station is blah, blah, blah. And so you just jump on the train and pay attention to all the places that you went to along the way. Yeah. And I'll tell you a funny story, actually. Yeah. It's a good thing that I learned that in Sydney, because a few years after finishing university, I met my ex-husband and we got married. And he hadn't had a driver's license beforehand, and now I kind of understand why. Amongst all the other fantastic skills that he did have, a sense of direction was not one. So I'm not sure whether you have them in England, but here they've got huge big signs above the main road that tell you, okay, if you're coming to the freeway, this is the lanes that you need to be in to go to this particular location, vice versa for the other one. I'm sure he could see those signs from 5 minutes driving. He would wait until we got right to the last minute before you had to make the decision which lane to be in to turn onto the freeway, left or right. And then he would say, which way, left or right? Now, for a blind girl, you would think that I would have a really good sense of direction. Well, no, I can't tell my left from my right without really consciously thinking about it. So now we're in traffic. I've got half a second to decide what's my left, what's my right, and which way do we actually want to be driving here. Yeah. And I don't know, maybe that's blind leading the blind. I've got no idea, but at least one of us had a sense of direction.
What a nightmare.
At least we've got GPSs these days. So with my new husband, I didn't have to worry about that. He just follows the GPS.
Yeah, true. And I was going to touch on that anyway. So you moved to Melbourne, and I guess then the experiences and, like you say, the learning curve is just amazing. You're soaking everything up. And because of your disability, you're just becoming so wise to everything and picking things up. And then technology as well is moving, like you say, GPS and just little things like that. How has that been over the years? Has that been a real saviour?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Huge impact. I mean, right next to me, I've got an iPhone, and I can use the same iPhone as you and everybody else in the world. Yeah. Apple have been wonderful enough to incorporate accessibility into their software. So it's just a standard iPhone, and you just turn on the talking features. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah. Because when you were growing up, you would have had it was your mum and dad, your mates, and that was it. And now look where we are.
And audio books were on a cassette, and I remember you used to get a standard novel, and it was, I'm not joking, 20 cassettes.
Yeah, I remember the old cassettes. Yeah. Oh,
now you have a tiny little file that just plugs into your phone or whatever, and off you go, and you've got your audio book. So, technology has definitely moved along. For my work, I use a software program that, so I'm talking to customers on the phone. So I've got a headset on for my listening to my customers. Yeah. And then I've got a second headset that I listen to my computer with, and I've got a special software program that reads out everything on the screen.
Wow.
And so I kind of listen to two conversations at once. And so imagine using your computer. We're going to turn off the monitor. We're going
Yeah.
to take away your mouse, and then I'm going to give you a keyboard shortcut to do every single function. So
it's amazing how the brain, you can train the brain though.
Absolutely, because I'm not using a whole part of it to be looking at stuff.
Yeah.
So now I'm using it for other things.
Yeah. Well, I'd do it. I'd just be all over the place, a bumbling mess. Now you just fly. You'll do that as if it's just a normal day, which is pretty phenomenal, isn't it?
It just becomes muscle memory after a while.
Yeah. Okay, excellent. Right, so done the social work studies, moved on from there. How long were you in social care for?
Well, still kind of in and out of it, actually.
Okay.
And that's kind of why I ended up doing the life coaching. So my last social work job I was working with unemployed disabled people for about 5 years.
All right.
And that did my head in after a little bit. So I'm like, okay, I need a break. And so what does your head in even more? I went and got a job in the call centre at our roads authority. So I did that for 5 years and am now still working for the Roads Authority, but doing something slightly different. So that's my everyday job.
Yeah.
And I thought, you know what, like I really want to, help other people.
Yeah.
And I'm doing a bit of a volunteer role with my Victorian government job at the moment, advocating for people with disabilities, but still thought that that's not enough. I still want to be doing something else.
Yeah.
So while we're in lockdown last year with COVID, I thought I'd take the opportunity to study the life coaching.
Yeah.
And that kind of bridged that gap in between the social work and a lot of the natural therapy kind of stuff that I'd been doing in the past as well. So I kind of all linked it together. So now I'm working the full-time job, still doing the volunteer advocacy job, and doing my own business. Hence why I am such a busy person.
You just don't stop. And talking about social care, I've worked with social care before, not worked in social care, but we had the offices at where I used to work, where I work. And one thing is for sure with social care, they get a lot of stick. Sometimes they're at the brunt of a lot of, criticism. But they do an amazing job, and it's such a difficult job. I suppose after so many years, it takes quite a toll emotionally on you, does it?
It does. And even I'm a very positive kind of, don't let the stuff stick to you kind of person.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I left that position that I realized that the negative and just the stuck mindset had actually started to join to me. And I did have my own little coping mechanisms of this is separating work and life apart. But it wasn't until I left the job and I was sitting actually having lunch with my husband one day, and I'm like, oh, we do this and do this and do this. And he just looked at me and went, "You're back." And I went, "Huh, what?" And he's like, that's who I remember. He said you just had this big cloud over you that had been created by, dealing with other people's problems for so long that you'd forgot that vision and goal setting mentality of my own. And so it was really interesting to reflect back on that and go, oh, I thought I was doing okay, but in actual fact, it did impact.
Yeah, it does. I think that it's one of those jobs for you to do it for, your whole career. You've got to be serious, resilient. And you're almost, like you say, a lot of the time you're giving up your own life. You're giving up because you've got to be in that mindset and take the problems home. And it's very difficult. And I'm a big supporter of anybody that works in social care, that's for sure. So then we go to the life coaching. You're like, right, life coaching. And I suppose with this is slightly different because it's people who want to improve something or want coaching or want mentoring. Tell us a little bit about starting that. Was it quite a scary time where you're like, oh, I don't know what to do? Or did you go for it?
I'm one of those people that just go for it,
I love it.
Say yes and work it out later. Yeah. So that's pretty much where I started. And look, because I had the social work background, I think it kind of helped because I've already been dealing with people and their stuff for a while. And so, going it from a slightly different angle, it still has the same basis behind it. So it's not like I was starting from scratch and suddenly having someone tell me their stuff and going, oh, how do you fix that? It was more like, oh, okay, yep,
Yeah.
been there before. Let's just tackle this from a different place.
Yeah, definitely. And life coach. Now, this is something I spoke to a coach over here, mentor coach, however you want to phrase it. Over here, it's a little bit of a newish thing because I speak to a lot of people in America, and they've all got therapists, life coaches. You know, it is as important as a doctor, dentist.
Mm.
Over here, it's not, which I think is wrong because having a mentor or a coach it makes a massive difference to your life. What's it like over there in Australia? Is it a big thing over there, or is it a new thing?
It is still very new.
Mm,
I think it is slowly picking up, but it's probably, same as what you guys have got in the
yeah,
UK with it. It's just kind of a baby concept at the moment. There's a few people that are onto it. And look, you mentioned life coach here, and everyone just sort of goes, oh my God, like Tony Robbins. And it's like, not quite, yeah? Like we're
you
not.
wish you had his money.
That'd be awesome, retire tomorrow. But yeah, no, it's still relatively new, and I think a lot of people don't realize the day-to-day benefits of it, especially in the corporate world and things like that, like having somebody to just bounce ideas off of, because especially when you're in a high pressure position, a lot of the times you don't have that ability to let your guard down and say, oh, this is what I'm thinking, or this is what I'm feeling,
Yeah,
and be in a place where you feel comfortable to do that with your colleagues. So having somebody that's totally out of the frame,
yeah,
someone that you can just be totally honest with, that has no impact upon how you're being judged in your workplace, I think
yeah.
is sometimes really, really important.
Definitely. And I suppose it goes back to yourself when you're in social care thinking, I would have loved to have had a life coach back then, someone to guide me
Mm-mm.
and someone to
Someone to
just,
offload to sometimes.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So you've started life coaching. What sort of things do you life coach? Is it a case of, do you pick a certain subject, or is it for professionals, or is it just anybody that wants life coaching? How do you work that?
I think the best thing about life coaching is you can really tailor and individualize it to people and their specific needs.
Mm,
So, look, if I was to say, what kind of life coach am I? My main things are overcoming adversity, building resilience, setting goals, and that's things that I can relate back to my personal life. And
yeah,
so, my personal story becomes very powerful in the sense that they are able to be coached by somebody who's not necessarily been there and done that, but at least they feel that there's a level of empathy coming from the person that is the person coaching. Having said that, though, coaching can be for anybody about anything, because essentially what we do is we get down to the nuts and bolts about what's going on in life, and
yeah,
then what's working, what's not working. Okay, well, let's focus on that area of your life that isn't working,
yeah.
and build upon that. And then the coaching questions are very much based around getting people to think about answers to solve their own problems, rather than me telling them this is the way it should be. It's about them going, oh, okay, well, this is how I could look at that differently.
Yeah, yeah. I think, and that's the thing as well. It's interesting you say about nuts and bolts. It's sometimes people just need to step back and look at the bigger picture, which I know sounds corny, but it's true. And the other thing as well is with life coaching. Tell us what the difference between a life coach and a therapist is. Tell us the difference between those two.
Mm-hmm. So therapists tend to dig back into your life and look at all the things that you've done in the past, and then try and create an answer for your current behavior
Yeah,
based upon your past stuff.
yeah,
Life coaches more so go, okay, yep, we acknowledge what's happened in the past. The past is the past. You can't change it. All you can do is acknowledge the fact that it's been there. It's taught you some kind of lesson. Let's now focus towards the future. And so coaching is very future orientated rather than past orientated.
Yeah. So I suppose if you have past issues that are deep rooted, then it's a case of getting a therapist. It's more complex. I would probably say.
Yeah. And look, I mean, if the past has been dealt with, and you've got that baggage, and that's okay because you acknowledge it, and then you're going, okay, well, that's made me the person I am now, and I can use that as a tool to move forward with, then that's fine. And if people, I mean, I think the biggest thing when we look at our past is forgiveness of whatever happened, whatever the people were involved, whatever we need to forgive ourselves for.
Yeah.
And if you can do that and move forward, then you're ready for coaching. If you can't forgive, you can't move forward, and you're still stuck on that little hamster wheel of going around in the past going, but this, then probably therapy is a better channel to work through that first of all.
Yeah, that's a great bit of advice, because forgiveness has come up time and time again on this podcast with people that have been through, a real hell of a time. And it is true, because almost when you can't forgive, that's your own issue, that's your own problem. And you're putting the emphasis back on whoever caused the problem, because you have to forgive for yourself. And I think when you think, I'll get my back up, I'm not going to forgive. It's a shame, because if people can't see that. So yeah, that's a great bit of advice. So where do you see this life coaching going then, Fiona? What's for the future?
For the future, I'm going to change the world. Yeah,
Yeah,
take over the world.
Well, you said Tony Robbins, so Tony Robbins,
got to aim high.
Tonight for one night only. But yeah, where do you see it? I mean, the website's great. Where do you see it going?
Look, I'd like to continue doing the individual coaching, get into some group coaching. I really see myself coaching in public speaking forum more than anything else.
Yeah.
So using those coaching skills to present to corporates and other large groups to kind of get the word out there, and be a little bit of a disability advocate, but at the same time really focus on, everyone has the power to overcome the challenges that they're faced with in life, regardless of what those challenges are. We all have them. And if you're resilient and, you look forward rather than backwards, you can overcome anything that's put towards you.
Yeah, definitely. And I always ask, I mean, you've already given a bit of advice, but I'll ask you again. I always ask my guests for a bit of advice, so that can be the best bit of advice you've had or that you could give somebody. Have you got a bit of advice, Fiona, that you can think of?
Bit of advice: be kind to yourself. Stop talking all that negative rubbish self-talk that you get in the inside of your head. We always go, you talk to yourself, you're crazy. No, we do it all the time. Like, we have literally nearly 100,000 thoughts that will run through our heads every day. That voice in our head is really, really powerful.